Oh my goodness. I've exchanged one host for another, or a new host, question mark? Well, we'll deal with all that later, but hello everyone. Welcome back, all you Viconics wrestling nerds out there, and welcome to another weekly rendition of the Friday Night Faction Review, your weekly review crew to tackle WWE Smackdown, this time from Friday, January 12th, 2024. I am one of your hosts, Mikey. I am here once again, to review the Smackdown of WWE. It is great. But joining me this week, the professor is currently experiencing internet problems. And I feel that I couldn't get a hold of my other co-host, Minnie, but apparently the Lucha Don't, Mr. Senor Lucha Don't, has decided to step in this week. So, Mr. Lucha Don't, welcome back.
I had to lock Minnie back in his basement. Ignore last Monday Night Raw review. He escapes, but we got it back. So yeah, he's back. Being changed to the boiler. So
Oh boy. Well, I mean, what can you do? But thankfully, you're here, and so we're going to be reviewing Friday Night Smackdown. And before we dive into the play-by-play of everything that went on, Smackdown has kind of felt like a weird roller coaster of ups and downs the last couple of weeks. And I smell, and now that we're getting news reports of like what supposedly is going to be happening soon in regards to WrestleMania season, I could start to see plans are being changed as we go along, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
well, it doesn't help that every single week on SmackDown somebody gets a concussion.
And again, we will go into that because, yes, I don't know what's going on with SmackDown. They're getting cursed, man. I feel like Danhausen in AEW has cursed their way over to WWE because every single week we're talking about somebody getting hurt here on SmackDown. But we'll talk about that more in depth when we get to that particular match. So let's just jump into how we opened up SmackDown this week. We were supposed to get Grayson Waller versus Cameron Grimes, which got set up from last week. And so Grayson Waller, accompanied by Austin Theory, makes his way down to the ring. So we have his full entrance. And then we immediately jump into a video package recapping the fact that Nick Aldis has made Roman Reigns' title defense a fatal four-way after him and the Bloodline got involved and kind of ruined the main event from last week. So when we return from this video package, we see Jimmy and Solo Sikoa destroying Cameron Grimes. And so the Bloodlines, quote unquote, hijacked the show for a little bit, which then prompted Nick Aldis to come down, and Paul Heyman thought he was slick. This is why I think on-screen general managers have become my favorite thing that they brought back, because Nick Aldis, and as the kids say, stood on business for this one, because he's like, yeah.
So on top, my thing down. So on top of that, they're using former wrestlers as their on-screen general managers. So like when they stand up to people like this, but they don't look like Teddy Long trying to stand up to the Undertaker or anything like that. It's like, no, I'm a big dude too, so try it. This is what we're doing. Screw you.
Oh, absolutely. Some of my favorite lines that came from this exchange is Paul Heyman calling Nick Aldis a wannabe Bond villain, which was really funny. And honestly, again, Nick Aldis stood on business because he didn't let the Bloodline, nor he let Paul Heyman try to weasel their way into getting what they want, because Nick Aldis is like, no, I'm general manager. I'm running this show. The Fatal Four-Way announcement is a done deal, and the Bloodline's not going to be ruining tonight's main event because now they are in the main event. And as a reward for them being in the main event, it's going to be the Bloodline trio, so Solo, Jimmy, and Roman, taking on Randy, AJ, and LA Knight. But Paul Heyman's just like, no, Roman Reigns is not here. And then Nick Aldis with the facts again. It's like, oh, that's right, I forgot. Roman Reigns once again started something that he doesn't seem to want to finish. I was like, damn.
Roasted.
Exactly. So then we end the segment by Nick Aldis telling the Bloodline that they have until the main event later in the show to find a third man if they like, and if not, it becomes a 3-on-2 handicap match. I was like, yes, Nick Aldis, best decision from general manager. Perfect for SmackDown.
This is the best Teddy Long. It's a tag team matchup I've ever seen.
Holla holla. No. You know, Minnie and the Professor have talked about this over the course of us doing the SmackDown reviews. And the biggest complaint that we've always had with all of this is the fact that the Bloodline, for a lesser extent of the run, since summer, have kind of just called roughshod all over SmackDown. And what I loved about this segment, that even though it was just mostly Paul Heyman and Nick Aldis talking a bunch, this is showing the signs that the Bloodline is starting to lose power and their intimidation factor is no longer a big thing, because Nick Aldis isn't afraid of them. You know, our three guys that we're going to see in the main event have already faced Roman, and there's nothing else they can do, and they're not afraid of the Bloodline. And surely, slowly but surely, we're getting close to the Bloodline finally imploding and be like, Roman's about to go full on Manchurian Candidate and is about to just blow up. Everything's about to blow up in his face, and Karma's going to come for them. Which, you know, we then see afterwards too, because Jimmy's freaking out. Solo's just like, bro, I don't worry about these things. We'll deal with it when we deal with it. But Jimmy is freaking out. And Paul Heyman's like, all right, guys, I'm going to go find us a partner. I promise you will have a third person. Spoiler alert, they do not.
No, because
nobody. Yeah, because of everything, because they ran roughshod all over all the SmackDown roster. Nobody wants to team with them. They're like, no, you guys are dumb. But we'll talk about who Paul Heyman goes up to, because some of these interactions were funny. From here, after this little segment, we jump into our first match of the night, and I'm putting a spoiler tag on this. This was my match of the night. We get Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro representing LWO, taking on Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, who have now aligned themselves with Santos Escobar, forming, I want to say, Legado del Fantasma 2.0. We don't have an official name yet, but Adolfo would be so proud. This is how we do Lucha Libre in WWE. I was just like, yes, please give me more.
Banger.
And I'm just like, why don't we get more Lucha Libre style matches? I'm like, you have two whole stables now of luchadors. You also have Ray, you have Carlito. Like, come on now. This was awesome. This was great. And what was even funny though is that even though Santos tried to get involved after, you know, getting off the commentary desk, Carlito came out, took care of Santos, but even still, that was still not enough, because Angel Garza picked up the victory, cheating mind you, but he still picked up the victory, and now it seems we're gonna have these two factions feud. I'm like, yes, this is what I've been wanting since Santos's heel turn, and it took us a bit to get here, but now we're finally getting there. So, so Senor Luchadont, what do you think about this first match, and just overall your thoughts?
Flippy boys do flippy things. The Luchadont supports the Luchadoos.
Oh my gosh. I was so caught off guard.
I caught off guard for what it was great. I'm gonna leave it at that. It was a great match. Check it out. It's a great match. If you go to watch that, just watch the highlights of it. It's a good match. And it's building Santos and his crew up, which is good. We're getting another solid heel on SmackDown that's not this one. So I'm happy to see that.
Thank goodness. And slowly but surely, we now have like good heels and heel factions coming out, and we got a lot of good some babyface factions too. So we'll talk about a bunch of them later. We cut backstage where we see, once again, it seems that Carmelo Hayes is getting the come up, because he's once again back from NXT up in SmackDown, this time in the office of Nick Aldis. And basically, Carmelo Hayes came to see Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis says that he was impressed with Carmelo's performance in the US title tournament. And then Carmelo Hayes wants to try to shoot his shot, because as he was about to ask for a spot in the Royal Rumble, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory come in and interrupt. They go back and forth, and Nick Aldis makes a match between Carmelo and Austin because Grayson offered Austin up instead of himself. So we're getting this match later. We gotta have Carmelo come up to the main roster very soon. We got to. He's appearing on Smackdown, and you know, I don't know, man. I'm hoping that post WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver, I need him and Braun Breaker to finally be called up to main roster. I think they're both ready to be main roster.
Well, aren't they in the Best of World Classic right now?
So Carmelo is still kind of tied up. Well, not tied up. I don't want to say that like it's a bad thing. Carmelo is currently with Trick Williams. There's a whole storyline going on. Go check out the NXT review if you want the full breakdown. But the summarized version is currently Trick and Carmelo are in the Dusty Tag Team Tournament Classic. So there's that. Meanwhile, Trick still has his #1 contendership, and he has yet to still face Ilya Dragunov for the NXT title because we're doing a storyline where Ilya got hurt or whatever. I don't know what's going on with that. It's crazy. And then Braun currently is also in the Dusty Tag Team Tournament where he's paired up with Baron Corbin, and I kind of dig their tag team.
I saw a clip of Baron doing his entrance on this big look up new spot while he interrupts it. I thought that was funny.
And me and Will, who cover NXT for the longest time, didn't understand what we were doing with Braun. Will can't stand Baron because his mic work is not the best, but we love the idea of these two being a tag team. So Carmelo and Braun are both busy in this tag team tournament, so hopefully after Stand and Deliver, we get them to come up to main roster. So we'll see what happens with this. So we see the first person that Paul Heyman then wants to try to recruit for the match for the Bloodline tonight. And I'm like, bro, why are we asking Carlito? Y'all just ran roughshod on LWO too. And
get someone an apple.
I was just like, really? I was like, wow. I was like, Paul Heyman, you don't do your research. But yeah, Paul Heyman tries to bribe Carlito with an apple. Carlito says he wants to fight, but he only wants to fight Santos. He's not trying to get in the Bloodline business. He takes the apple and then they all walk off. So it was great.
I thought that was funny because he's like, hey, let's recruit this babyface.
It's so ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous things, we get a very fun video package with Logan Paul, who has a message for Kevin Owens because as of last week, Kevin Owens beat Santos in the finals of the US title tournament. So he's going to go on to face Logan Paul for the United States Championship at Royal Rumble.
I'm not going to lie. I was going to surprised by that. I thought Santos was going to take it.
You know, I think so, but I think Kevin Owens facing off against Logan Paul makes sense in just everything that we've been doing with Kevin Owens for the last couple of weeks.
That's true. Give me KO. Let's go.
Yeah. And the good thing is that it's not like Santos losing in that tournament and now he's relegated back to catering, because now we have moved him to feud with LWO, which I think is great. It's awesome. I love it. But in this recorded video package, Logan Paul just essentially says it was a cheap shot to get punched in the face by Kevin Owens, so he's gonna knock out Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble. So I was like, okay, cool. This is gonna be. Listen, say what.
Didn't he say he was gonna sue Kevin Owens and hit him with the cat?
Yep, he says he's been talking with his lawyers and everything. I was just like, ugh, what a turd. But it makes Logan Paul's the perfect heel in this scenario because most people already don't like the guy just because of his antics from YouTube and everything.
It's already been that bad.
No, I don't think so. I think he simmered down and I don't want to say he has grown because he still makes questionable decisions. But I feel like he has matured a lot more than, when he got in hot water for the video he took while he was in Japan. So I think there's been a lot of maturity and he's kind of mellowed out a little bit. But he could still play this overconfident, cocky heel, which is perfect in this scenario. So,
I'm actually excited.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying this. I'm actually excited for the Logan Paul match. Because it seems like every time he gets in the ring, he gets better and better. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And I also want to dominate the Logan Paul. His 2 tag team.
Honestly, that'd be a lot of fun too.
We're the two most hated people in the company. Come on.
You know, and not to, you know, foreshadow everything, but the reports that we've been seeing is that Logan, I think, is keeping this title after Rumble. I still think it's going to be a hella good match between the two of them. But rumor reports is that the next challenger for Logan Paul is going to be LA Knight, which is, bro, can you imagine the promo offs between those two?
With LA Knight stopping over Logan Paul?
Yes, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. So, before we get into the next match, because again, WWE does this where we get entrances, then we get a backstage segment or a video package, and then the match. So we're gonna go to the video package first. And this one had me hyped. So we see, I guess somewhere in a coffee joint, we see Tyler Bate, who's now officially on SmackDown. So super happy to see our boy get called up from NXT to SmackDown. Tyler Bate is now with Butch, and they're just talking about their tag team match they had last week against Pretty Deadly. And essentially put, Tyler Bates like, yo, bro, it was nice tagging with you again. We should run the tag. We should go through the tag team division. And Butch is like, I appreciate the help, but that was a one-time thing. And I think it would be best in our both best interests to just keep going as singles competitors. Tyler Bates like, all right, but I need you to look within yourself, Butch. And we got to rename. Basically, he's like, bro, you got to change your name. And then we see Butch just look off into the distance in the camera. And he's like, it's like, you know what? You're right. And I think I'm going to call myself. And then the video cuts out. I was like, please let him go back to Pete Dunne. Please let him go back to Pete Dunne.
Please. I want the name.
Yes, I want the Bruiserweight back. That is who I want so much. And hopefully that's what we're getting. I was so hyped. I'm like, please let him be the Bruiserweight to Pete Dunne once again. So now we can talk about this match. I have said throughout the last couple of weeks, and I said this last week, that I was slowly getting tired of Bianca and Bayley feuding all the time. But then again, with Charlotte getting hurt, I feel like this threw a lot of the women's plans out the door. But I have to say, this match between Bayley and Bianca was actually really, really solid.
Well,
I really enjoyed this match.
That makes sense.
And what I loved even more about this match was, you know, we're slowly seeing just the mean girl attitude from the rest of the girls in Damage Control. Because every time Bayley threw Bianca out, they didn't do anything. They didn't beat her up. They didn't do anything. They just stood there and looked at Bayley. I was like, ooh, this turn is going to hurt, but it's going to be even sweeter when Bayley goes back to being a babyface.
She always better as a babyface.
I think so too. Again, this match was fun. I love seeing Bayley always go, like, try to use Bianca's hair against her, and Bianca using her hair to her advantage. And again, Bayley tries to get Damage Control to help her, but they don't do anything for her, which unfortunately allows Bianca to recover and hit her with the KOD for the win.
And they said because the refs had an eye on them.
Oh, we'll talk about that when we get backstage. I was like,
I think the planning, I think what they're going to do is, as soon as the protocols clear the rest of them, that's when they're going to turn. Because she's hit month 8 of her ACL recovery, which means she's going to be able to wrestle this soon.
Right.
So I think when Dakota Kai is able to wrestle again, Dakota Kai is going to she's going to boot Bayley out and take control of the damage control. I think that's the plan.
I think so too. I'm excited now with Bianca winning. We're still building her to momentum to the Royal Rumble. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, because both the Professor last week and Minnie on Monday, we both of those we talked about. I talked to them individually. Both of us were wondering if we're going to get a women's title defense at Royal Rumble, and if so, which ones. And at this point, it makes more sense for Rhea to have a title defense, but who knows? It might be Io too. We have 2 weeks until Rumble, so we'll see if they're even going to give us a title defense for the women's titles. and I'd be very interested to see which one, because Bianca technically now is the #1 contention because she beat someone from Damage Control, which Io is in, and then we already see that Nia over on Raw is feuding with Rhea, so we get that match at some point too. So, but overall, I thought this match was really, really good. I love that, of course, 15 minutes for these women is awesome. And then from here, we get the response video from Kevin Owens, which again, Kevin Owens is great. It doesn't matter if, so Kevin Owens says that even with a broken hand, it's not going to stop him competing at the Royal Rumble for the title. And he invites Logan Paul to make a pit stop to the KO show on Smackdown next week. I'm like, oh, it's about to go horribly wrong. It's going to go off the rails, and I love it when it goes off the rails at the KO show.
Someone's either going to get knocked out or someone's going to get stunned.
Right. So then, this is where you highlighted this earlier. We're backstage now with Damage Control, and the girls are in the back, which we just see Bayley and Dakota Kai talking out. And Bayley's like, yo, what was that? I was like, you guys didn't help me out. And Dakota, the gaslighting has begun for Bayley. And like you mentioned, Dakota's like, the refs had our eyes on us. We couldn't really do much, but hey, I promise you, it's like, you're going to take care of this Bayley. You're going to take care of this Bianca problem. We believe in you. I was like, damn, the gaslighting is real.
See, Roman can, it's not just Roman that can do gaslighting.
The funny thing is that when Roman gaslights, I was just like, okay. This, for some reason, the way that Dakota Kai does it is like, it just feels ickier, and I'm trying to figure out why in a sense, but like the way Dakota gaslights, I'm like, this feels more icky than when Roman does it. It's very Mean Girl-esque. It's like high school. I think that's the way it is. Roman is more intimidating, where Dakota Kai is manipulative.
I think they're doing that on purpose, which I'm so down for.
Right? I was like, oh, this is a Mean Girl faction, but they all can actually kick my butt if I try to confront them too.
Right. I'm so down for it.
I'm excited. Something else that I was excited for. So last week, me and the professor were pleasantly surprised, and we're hoping to see the good things with Karrion Kross's new faction. And in fact, now we know, last week, the Soup Profits, as we have been calling them, they now officially have a name. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits are collectively known as the Pride. So that's their new faction name.
Such a lame name. Oh my lord. This should have just called them the Soup Profits.
I slightly agree. I don't think the Pride is my favorite, but you know what? It's gonna grow on me like everything else. And I'm like, it's fine. I will say, this is the better promo that we got from Bobby Lashley than we did last week, because last week was kind of all over the place. This one is, I like an angry babyface Bobby Lashley. And even though I wanted to see the Street Profits as heels, it makes a lot of sense to also have them be faces with Bobby, because they're too over with the crowd for you to boo them at this point.
I'm glad that Bobby just made that decision with them. As much as I would love to see heel Street Profits, yeah.
And I think Bobby also does really good as a face as well, so it makes a lot of sense.
Bobby
Yep.
does good whenever you want to put him in.
Yeah, Bobby doesn't get a lot of credit. I feel like people don't talk about how great he is, but he gets on the mic and he kind of talks about everything, getting attacked by Karrion Kross and the Author of Pains from last week. And he basically calls out Karrion Kross, saying that, you guys shouldn't start a fight that you can't finish. And then the lights go out, and we see Paul Ellering come up the entrance ramp, point to the screen, where we get, again, cinematography on this promo with Scarlett and Karrion Kross and all that. We basically get, this is the promo package, so to speak, with Karrion, Scarlett, Paul Ellering, and the Authors of Pain, which formed this new stable, which they are calling themselves the Final Testament. So I was like, please let this work out for Karrion Kross, because I want this to work for him so bad, because I like Karrion and Scarlett.
I hope it works too, but why is it called the Final Testament? It seems like this is Judgment Day 2.0.
I mean, the Judgment Day is working on Monday Night Raw, but what I'm hoping what I want to see for the Final Testament, I want them to lean into okay, so the best analogy I can come up with, I feel that Judgment Day is like the equivalent to like greaser biker gangs. They're gonna beat you up and they're gonna vandalize your stuff. What I want to see from the Final Testament, I want this to be like leaning into the supernatural. It was just like
so
spooky dookie.
Like the Ministry, Undertaker's faction.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, you're already there. Scarlett and Shotzi are already co-hosting the Ghost Show, where they take their fellow WWE superstars to haunted places.
That is the most Shotzi thing I've ever heard. How have I not heard about this?
It is great. Like, one episode, they took Rhea and Dominic somewhere. They took Drew McIntyre to another place. It's on YouTube, I think. And even more so, Scarlett is such a... Yeah.
The funny thing about the Final Testament, I read on news that WWE was seeking a trademark for the name Final Testament. I thought that was going to be like another pay-per-view or something. No, it was a faction, man. Good to know.
Honestly, Final Testament would be a kick-ass pay-per-view name.
Right? After the old days of like Armageddon and stuff.
Right. So good. Again, I really want the fight. I want this feud between the Pride and Final Testament to work out so well. Specifically, I want this faction for Karrion Kross to work out because I like the dude. I love Scarlett too. They're both awesome people. I'm just hoping that this works out because the start and stop for Karrion Kross is like really ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm hoping it works out. Well, he has
right.
He has Authors of Pain at full power with their manager back, so I'm hoping that works.
That's another thing too. I'm happy to see Authors of Pain be back on TV after like 4 years. I'm like, I don't know. They were still under contract, so I'm like, I don't know what they were doing, but hey, they're back.
And they're at full power. So they got their manager back. They can still work in front of them. He's too old to be on TV.
I know, man. I was like, it's Paul Ellering. The dude is a legend. How can... Whatever. You know what? We're not even going to go on that rabbit trail. Happy to see Paul Ellering back, Authors of Pain, and I'm excited for this feud, surprisingly enough. Paul Heyman, we then see him. He's just dejected. He's having no luck trying to find partners. And then the funniest interaction all night occurred because then Pretty Deadly walk up.
They're like, we'll join you. Only one of you guys can be in the match. Oh, never mind.
Pretty Deadly are so good. I love them so much. They're
good,
funny.
They're good comedic heels, but they're also like legitimately good in-ring workers too.
No, absolutely. And then Paul Heyman gets so desperate, he tries to ask Bobby Lashley as, you know, he's walking by, but Bobby Lashley's like, no, and then continues to walk away.
Like, the only time I'll show Ring with the Bloodline is facing Roman.
Again, I love that Paul Heyman's starting to realize, you know what? We probably shouldn't have ran roughshod all over SmackDown because now nobody's going to want to work with us.
Right.
I was like, you literally isolated yourself to your own island because nobody wants to work with the Bloodline because y'all decimated everyone before. Okay, so let's talk about this. So after we get a video package to explain why Carmelo Hayes is a big deal for, you know, maybe people who don't watch NXT or don't know who it is, this is where we get the match between Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory. So, but prior to what went down, the back and forth was really good. And we even get like a commercial break in between the match. And then when we come back, Carmelo Hayes is in more of the lead in the offense. And then the Spanish Fly incident occurred. So they try to go for a Spanish Fly. Austin Theory, they both collide heads and both smack down, you know, on the mat. And then the ref is checking on them and immediately calls for the bell. So this ended in a no contest. And then Austin, I was worried because Austin Theory wasn't moving. And you could see Grayson Waller was legit concerned. He's like checking on him and everything. And then what made it worse is they showed the replay of the impact. I'm like, no, don't show me that.
They did the same thing for when Kofi kicked Giovanni Vinci in the head.
It was so bad. I was like, y'all don't need to show me the slow-mo. Like, I saw it in real life happen. I don't need to see a slow-mo version. But again, I want to shout out the WWE currently because one, Well, no, I'm going to shout out the refs and everything, because the refs making the right decision to call the match when people like this happen, because Lord knows both me and Mr. Luchadone have seen wrestling matches continue when they weren't supposed to underneath the Vincent Kennedy McMahon regimen, which was not good.
We shouldn't continue under Ring of Honor, too.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Top Line. Give it back.
It was crazy. But thankfully, they made the right call. This is a no contest. And we did come to find out in reports later that both Carmelo and Austin got checked out in the back, and both of them only suffered contusions to the face, but nothing dangerous, and they're both okay. Nothing wrong with their brains. So nobody got really badly hurt or serious consequence, but man, that was a scary looking Spanish Fly for sure. Yeah. Oh boy. So now we get to our main event. Finally, we get to the main event. So, to be perfectly honest, we can condense all this. Jimmy and Solo try to take out Randy Orton, which then for a brief moment turns into a 2-on-2. But Randy's like, haha, you can't get rid of me. And then it ends up going back to being a 3-on-2. And then everything happened the way it was supposed to. Yeah, so Randy's just menace. Right, and then once Randy came back, the numbers game was just too much, which allowed Randy, AJ, and LA to pick up the win. And then, of course, all three of them take out Solo. And they do a shield powerbomb through the announcer table. And Paul Heyman's like, call Roman Reigns. And then that is how the show goes off the air this week. Yep. My goodness. So yeah, so let's just rate this week's episode. Minnie's locked in the basement, but we're still gonna use the mini scale. I'm gonna give this a solid 7 out of 10. I thought I feel like most of WWE tends to spin their wheels anyways towards Royal Rumble season, but honestly, we're building up our main event, which is the Fatal 4-Way for Roman's title. We're getting some fun new stuff. We're getting new feuds and established between factions and things like that. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. It's the week after, so we got 2 weeks until Rumble. So yeah, 2 more shows. So in 2 weeks we have to go home. I will still pick this episode over what we got during the summer any day. Yeah, Smackdown during the summer was but that's gonna be it for this week's Friday Night Faction Review. Hopefully next week all 3 of us, me, myself, and Minnie will all be back in the same room. So here's hoping, but you never know. But Senor Lucha don't. Thank you for filling in. Yes. Trust me, it works. Shh. I'm a twin. You didn't know that? Anyways, so if you enjoyed this review, make sure to check out everything else we have here on the Viconics YouTube channel. Follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. Subscribe to the Patreon if you want to see our exclusive watch-alongs and never-before-seen videos. And subscribe to your favorite podcasting network because the podcast is also a thing too that we like to do here. But for myself, Miss Senor Lucha Don't, and the rest of the Viconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Viconic, you beautiful bastards. We'll see you for the next Friday Night Faction review next week, but until then, ta-ta for now.